Now, of course, the brand Dossier is known for making inspirations of more popular designer or niche fragrances, but some time ago, they launched a bunch of original creations, and this is one of them. It's called Bubbly Spritz and Bitters, and of course, it calls forth bright, sort of jubilant aura about it. And I have the note breakdown here, which I'm going to be reading in just a little bit, and you will find that it is quite citrus heavy and thus perfect for this time of the year. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on it very soon, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on this Dossier original creation called Bubbly Spritz and Bitters, I'll tell you all about the notes, the smell, performance, longevity, comparisons to other fragrances, so on and so forth. But before I dive into the review, I do want to mention that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content and you love smelling your best, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and also give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It would really mean a lot to me. So, the note breakdown. First of all, it has orange and bitter orange in the top, mandarin orange, neroli, aldehydes. So it opens up very juicy, very citrusy with an emphasis on orange, of course. In the mid, you have orange flower, laurel, juniper berry, cedar leaf, and artemisia. So it does kind of have like this floral, sort of a green vibe. Artemisia, you think of wormwood, you think of, this sort of sharp green element. And then in the base, you have vanilla, benzoin, incense, and oak moss. The oak moss extends that verdant quality into the base. And then, of course, you also have some of those dark and also sweet ingredients. The vanilla, benzoin can have a bit of a vanillic overtone to it as well. And this is classified as a gourmand in a citrus fragrance. So I wore this a handful of times, and let me tell you something. It's very bright, it's very luminous, it has that zesty, effervescent introduction that I think a lot of people would really appreciate from a fragrance, especially right around this time of the year. You don't want to wear your dark smokes, your resins, your woods, all of these complex, heavy fragrances in the summertime. Some people do, and I still do occasionally, especially if I'm indoors or if I spray very lightly on the trigger. But nevertheless, I'm going to be giving you my in-depth thoughts as far as the smell is concerned. Let's start things off with a quick look at the presentation first. Now, right in the opening of this fragrance, you are going to get that bright, juicy introduction. There is so much citrus happening in here, and you are going to get this orangey vibe. So you have to be a fan of orange to really appreciate this fragrance. If you like fragrances like Bigarade Concentré by Frederic Malle, you're gonna love this, right? So it opens up very juicy, very orangey, but it's not all about the orange, as I mentioned before. You also have mandarin, neroli, orange flower, but you do have the orange, the bitter orange, mandarin, and orange flower. So that orange personality is really going to dominate here. As far as the aldehydes are concerned, I think it's really just formed to give it that spritz quality that is referenced in the name, right? So you want to have this sort of sensation of kind of like a club soda or something carbonated, something fizzy, and that's what it does, right? Aldehydes almost have like this fizziness to them. Of course, a lot of people say that aldehydes kind of have like this antique vintage vibe, especially if you make connections to like Chanel's No. 5, which is like a release that came out 100 years ago. The truth of the matter is that you're not going to get that too strongly in this fragrance. You're also not going to get the green elements like the artemisia, the oak moss, and I'm smelling it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe something green will eventually peek its way through the fragrance, but it really doesn't. I do get the cedar and the juniper, and I've always said, juniper kind of reminds me of cedar wood. It has this woodsy, astringent quality to it, but it's this base that isn't formed until like 30-40 minutes into the development of the fragrance. So if you're expecting this to be woodsy right off the rip, it's not, right? You got to give it some time for that citrus quality to really dial itself down. But what's really impressive about this is that the citrus lasts a very, very long time. With most fragrances, and I would say a lot of designer fragrances, they utilize this sort of nondescript citrusy top, which is comprised mostly of citral, citronellol, linalool, so on and so forth. So you got like this bergamot introduction, which lasts for 5 minutes and then it disappears. But the citrus elements in this last and last and last. And I think the orange flower really contributes to that because that constitutes as a mid note in this fragrance. So that orangey personality is not quick to die off, which I think is a really nice quality to the fragrance. Look, there is a touch of sweetness in here, but it's very, very mild. Like when you first spray it, you're like, this is 85% citrus, 15% sweet. The vanilla and the benzoin are certainly contributing to that. And what it does is it puts together this amber accord, if we're being honest. Amber is a combination of vanilla, labdanum, benzoin, olibanum, galbanum, tolubalsam, perobalsam, any other resins that you want to throw in there, depending on how you want to make that amber come across. Here, you're going to get a tiny bit of sweetness, and I really enjoy it. I like how there is that touch of sweetness that makes you keep going back to it. It's like, okay, what else am I smelling in here? And the vanilla has a really nice touch to it. The benzoin, it's not medicinal, which benzoin is in and of itself, but I think there's enough of that vanilla where the vanilla kind of overpowers the benzoin. And as far as the incense is concerned, I'm not sure what they're talking about. Nothing smoky. Even with frankincense, you know, olibanum / frankincense, it smells lemony and pine-like, but I'm not getting any of that either. Lemon, yes. Pine, no. So I'm not too sure about the incense, but what I will say is that you are going to get that underlying sweetness. Look, I think this is an awesome citrus-based fragrance, and it's available for a Dossier price. Their fragrances are so inexpensive and quite affordable. At the very least, see if you can sample it. Don't trust me, don't trust my nose, trust your own nose and your own skin. See how it works for you, but I'm saying this is an awesome orangey vanilla type of a fragrance. Please try this if you have the opportunity to do so. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, this is certainly unique. The only other comparison that I made was to Bigarade Concentrate by Frederic Malle, but again, it's a very loose frame of reference just to say that this is a orange leaning fragrance, but at the end of the day, it smells very different, mass appealing. And yes, it is the type of fragrance that I can see somebody getting complimented on, especially if worn in the right occasions with the right attitude. I think that's important. Longevity on this one is about 7 hours on skin, but the citrus lasts a very long time, which is commendable. Projection on this one was fantastic for the first hour and a half of application. It did radiate beyond an arm's length. It didn't become an elbow's length scent until right around hour 5, a skin scent right around hour 7. Versatility on this one, perfectly unisex, casual or formal, better for the hotter weather. Anybody of any age can wear this one very comfortably. And as far as the presentation is concerned, I've reviewed many Dossier fragrances. You know my thoughts on that. My final verdict on this fragrance is, if you're looking for a fantastic orange and vanilla fragrance, something very inexpensive, something that will make you stand out, perfect for the hotter weather, and something that does have a certain compliment factor embedded in it, please try Bubbly Spritz and Bitters by Dossier. Look, I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you took something of value from today's video. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Also subscribe if you love smelling your best. Hit that bell icon and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.